Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Trying to figure out. Can you hear me okay? Because I had to pull the microphone. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Hi, everyone. Good to see you. And as everybody pops in, welcome to Love is the Wisdom Behind Awakening discussion and channeling. And we have Chrys here.
And we have Debbie there. Which way is which?
I'm the other way.
Both ways. That'll work.
It's backward. There you go. Just do that. Backwards. So we're going to continue our discussion kind of a little bit where we left off last week. So for those of you who were here last week, welcome back. And thank you for continuing to join us. And for those of you who are new this week, that is totally fine. It doesn't matter if you were here last week. You can join in on the discussion. We are talking about busting through the patriarchal thought and energy on this planet and kind of awaken to the ways that that it has kind of permeated into areas and we kind of don't even know it, right? And so looking forward to you guys being part of the conversation as well as Chrys kind of guiding us through this as well. She was part of the fight back in the day when...
I feel like I'm about 100 years old, yeah.
Yeah. So, Chrys, what was it like in the 70s? Because I feel that you were part of a group of people, of women especially, that were kind of awake at that time, and there were so many that were still in the dark. But what was it like for you?
Well, I wouldn't say we were awake. I would say we were awakening. I think I mentioned before that Ms. Magazine came out when I was working in an airline reservation office of 400, mostly 400 women. We had like 6 or 9 men. And of course, they were all in charge because they were men.
Mm-hmm.
And we heard on a regular basis that it was a good paying job for women who don't have a college education, but that we really belong at home. We were regularly told that we belong at home.
Wow.
And they would take our ideas and they would steal them, that sort of thing. That was more the norm. That was really the way it was. And we might not like it, but there wasn't any way to talk about it. So, I think I said this to you before. Ms. Magazine came out. I had the first issue, and I put it on my desk, and I was a supervisor at that point, and they left a fish head with the entrails hanging out of it. The harassment increased. They laughed at us, that sort of stuff. But to Mrs. credit, that was when the word Ms. was created, and most of us didn't know anything about women's history. We knew nothing. We just knew that things weren't right. So what was her? I'm trying to remember the name of the author. Marilyn French, maybe. Anyway, she came out with a book. I'm not sure I'm right about that. But she came out with a book around that same time where she had done an interview with women about sex. What was sex life like with men? And I was sitting next to an older woman, and she all of a sudden screamed And she said, I'm not frigid. He doesn't know how to use it. So that to me was an emblematic moment, that was like the door was kicked open. But Ms. Magazine had book reviews back then. And
Mm.
I was sitting in the supervisor's position, but there was a row of women in front of me. And I didn't know this. I didn't know this book was here. And we started telling each other about the books. And the next thing you knew, the person sitting closest to me turned to me and said, "Why don't we start a feminist bookstore?" I said, "Oh, what a great idea." So we did. I'm sure.
Oh, you did, yeah. You shorten it, yeah.
Yeah. But the amount of harassment and the airline went on the reservation center went on strike, and we came back according to seniority. That was how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to come back to work according to seniority. Well, I was probably 2/3 of the way down the senior level, and there behind me were a couple of men. So while we were on strike, the guys who were in management went and changed the dates on the seniority levels, and I was put at the bottom. So I got the worst shifts, and I was so bummed. I mean, I was really, really, you get really, really quiet when you get that
Mm.
abused. And
Wow.
I got really, really quiet. And I think I had more desire then to do a feminist bookstore than I did before.
Right.
So I think that's how awakening happens. It's not like you're awake to begin with necessarily. A friend of mine, I had a bad accident when we were opening the bookstore. I fell 20 feet off a ladder and crushed my right arm, and so it slowed the process down a little bit. But a friend of mine I worked with started coming to the house, and she started talking about therapy. And I'd never thought about therapy before. So I thought, well, that sounds kind of cool. And I'd had this crisis. And so I started going to therapy. And then I started to waken up.
Mm-hmm.
That was a whole bunch of different stuff started to come together. I think that's how it all works.
Yeah,
It works with a bunch of stuff coming together.
I think that we only have so much that we can perceive because of what you only can perceive or know what you've been shown, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you've been shown this much, that's where you're going to be. But if you're open to learning more, perceiving more, that's where books come in. And I like that they're talking about The Woman's Room by French, is it?
I'm not sure that's the one I'm talking about, but that was out at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think Women's Room was really about a woman coming into her own power. But there was another book. It'll come to me, but eventually. But there was another one.
Another one. Mm-hmm. And so learning, perceiving opens up our perception and understanding, and that's where awakening and standing in your power, more and more power. Why do you think they're trying to take our books away again? Right? So they're trying to put that oppression back on us. And so it's an old play. It's an old play. People we're not going to stand for it as a whole. I do understand that it's taking place and it is happening, but we're not going to stand for it. There's too many of us now that are aware and in the more of an awakened state. And every day I wake up, I awaken more. Every time I get up out of a real sleep, I do awaken more throughout my day. Why? Because I am open to a higher perception, a better view of things. I want expansion. So guess what I'm going to get? I'm going to get expansion. I'm going to get new things. Each time I talk to you, Chrys, I go, oh, there's another opening or an understanding of where I have been oppressed all these years in darkness. And that perception now is open and I can step into that. But it also gives me an understanding of those who are kind of still under that oppression and dark, it more not in a more awakened state or perceive the bigger picture. Because I can look back over my life and see when I have my perception grew in moments. I can see it. I thought that I was awake yesterday until today, and I learned something new, right? And
Right.
so be open to continually learning and growing, and just in that energy alone is busting through this patriarchal, oppressive energy. They don't want us to. They must hate this show, Awakening. And so part of that also is calling back our power, calling back those pieces that we've either given away or have been taken from us. So calling back all the bits and pieces of ourselves that have been taken or that we've given away over our lifetime. And JJ, Tuta Speaks, brought up, she saw a seed. So if there was a seed and it planted in the ground and it was in just half of the seed, it's just going to be in the ground, right? How is it going? What energy is it going to process or create? But if you bring back all the parts of the seeds and put it together, it's able to it's able to bring that power to it to grow. See what I do with my hands and all right. But yeah, so where I'm interested in to know from the family here too, any places where they can see that they want to call back to themselves. Any bits and pieces of themselves out there that they want to call back that they may have surrendered in areas. So like Chrys, in this situation at work, where literally injustice, and you became silent. So in that you gave them your voice and so would that be an example of where you could call back that voice of yours?
Where I could call back that voice of theirs?
Call back that, because you gave your voice away at that point. You
Well,
became quiet.
I did. The bookstore allowed me to use my voice. But as I was reminded that I watched one of my coworkers, a male, sexually abuse a trainee in front of me. I was on the phones and I'm watching him do it, and I couldn't stop him because to stop him was to get me fired. And I couldn't be fired because I couldn't financially manage it. But it was important. It was a really important moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also anorexic because I had been abused as a kid. But that therapeutic moment, along with the feminist moment, I started.
You called back all your pieces.
I started calling back all my pieces, and it was probably about 5 years later that I left and went back to school.
Mm-hmm.
And And one of my coworkers at the time said, finally, one of us got out of here.
Mm.
And so that was important, and they started coming to me privately with problems and who should I call and how should I do it and that sort of thing. So, and I started taking part in marches and protests, and I used to go to the Peace Council. The Syracuse Peace Council is one of the oldest in the world, so I started going to that, and I really was gonna. I thought I'll be a good labor lawyer. I'll go and fight for women as a labor lawyer. I got into college, and one of my friends said to me, "How many radical labor lawyers do you know?" And I said, "I don't know any." And she said, "You sure you want to be a lawyer?" And I said, "No, I'm not." So that's when I found sociology. But yeah, I'm not sure if I answered your question, but
Yeah.
that was it's 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 not 1 minute you're not awake and the next minute you're awake.
Right. No,
It's
constant
awakening is
awakening. Yeah.
yeah, it's a process, and once you start to wake up, each little moment adds on to the previous moments, and you see other people doing it.
Mhm.
I learned a lot from last night. I was telling you about this Syracuse Community Choir concert I went to, and that choir has no restrictions about who can join it. None, zero. Doesn't matter if you're deaf, blind, mentally disabled. Doesn't matter. Anybody can join, and the music is beautiful. So everybody from a little kid to people in their 90s were there. So
Oh,
some of the people who I knew had done extraordinary things in their life to make this a better world, and some of the people who are just starting out and their children were all there celebrating, and they're all singing together. And it was a moment, where I sat there and went, wow, how fortunate am I to be able to see what we've done
mhm.
and where we've created it. And I wish it could be everywhere, but um, the Israeli Palestinian thing was part of it, and,
Mm,
but it wasn't. It wasn't one side is better than the other. It was how do we bring it all together?
mhm.
You know.
Peace.
So
Mhm.
yeah, it was all the peace movement. So it was really quite beautiful.
That that is community. Yeah, very powerful, and powerful coming together and moving energy in a positive way to
Mhm.
affect our planet. Um, um, I always I always respect the energy of those moments like you describe, where a group of people are together and creating joy and creating peace and sending that intention out, especially through tones, right? Through music. It really does ignite and change and shift that
Mhm.
vibration of the planet. So that's beautiful. And to get to be there is so cool.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to, Lori here says, their behaviors now are awakening younger women and men that have not lived what my generation did. My granddaughter said her generation is fighting back. Now she understands what we went through. She
Yeah.
has, yeah, for sure. It's cool. It's cool that, and you kind of touched on that a little bit too. Is those other generations coming up and being part of that. There's another way that we wanted to talk about today, and that is okay. And it takes us back to perception and kind of what we know, um, and uh, what we perceive beauty as, right? Now this goes way back. I mean, you can go back tribal, and beauty to them was, if you had, and I'm going to make this up, if you had, 10 piercings and, whatever back in different, if you look back in history, you can see that every culture has something that they see and honor as beauty, right? We may look at it and go, wow, that's interesting. That wouldn't be beautiful to me, but you know what I mean? So each society builds beauty, what what the rest of us need to look at and see as beauty, right? And so one of those things, and men, uh, it was a big deal back in the day, uh, the makeup thing, women wearing makeup, right? And tell us what the feminists did back in the day to kind of fight against that.
Well, it was more the sort of the consciousness raising groups that emerged, but it was more of a sort of a critical overview of how patriarchal culture works. That there was only a certain look that was allowed for women to have that men thought was attractive. Whether they really thought it or not doesn't really matter, but the perception was that if you're not a particular shape, not a particular hair color, your skin doesn't look a certain way, you're not wanted by men. So that was one piece of it. It was really about things like clothing, skirt lengths, whether or not you had a wrinkle or a scar, or whether you were disabled or whatever. It was really a very big overview of how patriarchal culture defines particularly white women. Um, and and so black women fell into that, but more in the sense of by race they're not beautiful, right? So at the same time that feminism was really taking hold, so was the civil rights movement, and so was the embracing of natural hair and natural looks. And with white women, the feminist groups were saying enough keeping cosmetic companies rich based on what they think is a marker of beauty. You have to wear makeup. You have to wear pink. You have to wear, you have to wear your hair a certain way. All of that. I think I've told you this before. When we had the bookstore in 1975, there was a Women in Print conference in Omaha, Nebraska. And we were regularly infiltrated and followed and so harassed by the FBI. So we went to a campfire camp in Omaha, and it was women from all over the country, women publishers, women booksellers, women writers, women's magazines, journals, whatever. And they were all different political positions, everything from the most radical to the most reformist. And they met us at the airport. All these women met us at the airport to drive us to the camp, dressed in flannel shirts and overalls, and that was it. That was the uniform. And for me, I thought, wow, that's really liberating. Why they're not dressed up? They're just they're not sexualized. They're not packaged. They're not coming off the cover of Vogue or Cosmo or anything else. They're reducing themselves to their basic self. And some of them had decided not to have relationships with men. Some of them had decided they were only going to have relationships with women, whether they were lesbian identified or not. They believed that they were woman identified.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And not male identified. So makeup was considered male identification instead of female identification. Today we see it among the older folks. So the makeup stuff has come back, but you're right, it's come back with some twist to it, some piercings and tattoos and so on. But for older folks, and I find it personally very disturbing how many older folks have had facelifts and so on to try and make them look younger again or more desirable again. And the industry, the film industry and the music industry, has encouraged them to do that themselves. So these are emblematic of patriarchal culture.
And I like that you said, so it's patriarchal culture that is creating that.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. A lot of us under the oppression of the culture also honor it as beauty, right? So when we buy into it as that's what beauty looks like, instead of embracing all looks, we all bring a different type of beauty to the planet.
Mm-hmm.
All of us are a different art piece
Mm-hmm.
in the collection here on the planet. Every single one of you brings you're a beautiful art piece here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's without being painted, right? But what I'm talking about is the tribes of old, face paint of the tribes of old, and like across the globe, the different tribal energies and what they felt beauty was within the tribes. Is that's what I'm talking about, as far as the piercings and the neck things and the different things.
Yeah. No, I
you know what I'm talking about. So every culture has a thing that they grasp on as that is beauty.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a culture. That's a culture. And so that's not real. That's not real. We've created that. The real thing is that everybody's beautiful. You're different from each other, and you bring a beauty.
Right.
And yes, here we are going to age, but here's the deal. What are some of the narratives that have been placed on age?
Mm-hmm.
And beauty within age, and allowing that to take place. Now, when I think back of my grandparents and my grandma, I just think how and I don't remember beauty or not beauty. I don't place that. I just my connection was from the heart, and and that in itself is the biggest beauty there is, right? So no matter what they look like, it was the heart connection.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the culture, the patriarchal culture, puts so much value on that beauty and being wanted. This is something you said, and not being wanted by a man. Well, I know family, you all can think of things that you were either told growing up or you saw growing up, that you need to do this or do that, or you're never going to get married. No one's ever going to want you.
That's right.
If you don't wear your hair this way or that way, or dress this way, or have your body this way or that way.
Right.
Everything was done in order for a man to want you. Okay. That is so wrong.
My mom said to me, "Don't ever beat a boy at sports because he'll never want to marry you." And she sent my sister and I to charm school twice.
I went to charm school.
Yeah.
Didn't help me very much, but
I think you're very charming.
They teach you how to walk. Someone said, walk the way you walk. Yeah, Laura. In charm school, they literally teach you how to walk, how to sit, how to set a table. Oh my God.
Yeah.
How to dress.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So Hypnicity says my dad used to say she let herself go about women who gained weight. She let herself go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Right. I think one of the things that's a mixed blessing, really, is that among African American women, because of Lizzo, a lot of uh, bigger women are embracing that more, even though it has a downside to it in terms of health. But it's
Bringing beauty back
it's
to
love me the way I am with their hands and their hips.
right.
It's
And she's saying, I am beautiful. And
right.
so she's breaking through the perception that the culture has built. She's
Right.
breaking through. She's enhancing our perception. And so, again, this is a whole nother area of this oppression and where they take your free will from you. This is on the scale of free will being taken from you. And that's the most grievous thing you can do to a human is take their free will.
Mm-hmm.
And this is on the spectrum of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just, we're not telling you don't wear makeup or you do you, however you want to do it. That is okay. But be aware of why you're choosing to do this. Is this because of some of these narratives, these old narratives that have embedded themselves in us, and tell us every day. I mean, I don't know about you guys, and I think I said this last week. I am bombarded daily, and it could be my age or whatever, and all the social platforms know how old I am, so they're going to bombard me with facial creams. I don't know how many how many facial creams. You know what I mean? So constantly telling you that you're not enough.
Right.
And that you need to, if you want to stay young and beautiful, you need to use that product so you can be desired or whatever it is, whatever the narrative is. Just be aware of what you're choosing and why. And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the sort of Marilyn Monroe phenomenon. She'd be a good one to bring in. But she became emblematic of the desirable woman by men. And even my own mom tried to bleach her hair blonde and wear tight skirts and tight tops and the whole 9 yards. But that was the norm, and that's the norm we rebelled against for a long time until it was co-opted and it was brought back again. I think I remember when Madonna was first around that she had a view about women's bodies that I can be as sexy and as out there as I want to be. I don't have to hide it. I don't have to do, I don't have to follow the rules anymore. But it was a mixed blessing, right? Because it was a sort of way of debasing, women generally, with at the same time claiming it's okay. So it became more the norm through that period. And then, of course, we've got, I walked out of an Usher concert because he had a woman standing on a large cube with her ass bared and up in the air, and that's all you saw of her. She was gyrating around her butt. And I thought, no, I didn't come this far to do that again. So, yeah.
It is. Oh, go ahead.
No, I think it's going to take a lot to push it back again.
And that's what we're doing. And just us being able to talk about it, we are part of it being pushed back. But just bringing it into our perception is what I'm saying opens that up. And I have found myself, not able to watch some shows or
Yeah.
or go, participate in some of these, like what you were just describing, because um, the energy of it is so dense, and I don't, I do understand. Like, I'm not judging them. It's just my energy doesn't fit in there anymore, and I can't participate because
Right.
I my awareness is bigger, and I understand the culture and the oppression of that culture and what it's doing, and it keeping
Yeah.
oppressed and so forth.
Yeah.
I,
I, I
but
think I think it's really tricky. I think it's a very tricky moment because some of the messages about women's bodies and appearance still circulates, and at the same time, some of the oppositional stuff circulates too, and you
mhm.
see it really generationally. Um, yeah, Laura says women learned to wield the only power that was truly theirs.
Exactly, and yes, I agree.
Right.
So this is and it reminds me, when I was growing up, I understood my power of who I was, in the privilege of whatever I had. I understood that power, and that was because of everything else being so oppressive. I learned how to wield what I had to get ahead.
Yeah.
And so that's another, Laura, that's a good point. And it also, I understand where women are, where they are, this is the power they have, that they know, and it works for them. So they're going to use it. But we can still learn and grow and become more aware.
Yeah, but the it's not as superficial as just the appearance. It's sexual oppression. Um, because what follows from that is if you don't go by the rules of the culture around a what is feminine energy, what is feminine look, what is beauty, all of that, you
Mhm.
run the risk of being put in your place. I mean, how many books and how many movies have said that lesbians just need a good fuck?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Or
it's
they
it's
shout that out. As they drive by, they shout that out their window.
right. So it's not a silly um, or a superficial critique of the culture in terms of appearance. It's really even the Barbie movie. Them being harassed by the construction workers, and her saying, "I'm sorry, I don't have a vagina, and he doesn't have a penis," as though that's what they were going after. But they were going after the surface, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So, you know, yeah, it's sexual oppression is a very big thing, a very big thing. 1 in 3 women are assaulted in their lifetime. So, and young children are affected. And the movie Naiad about the woman who swam from
Yeah.
Cuba to,
Mhm.
she talks about what it was like to be a premier swimmer as a child and being sexually abused by her coach, and unfortunately, that's more common than not. Um, so I think it's all part of the same system that we've really got a lot of work to do to fix. But where you started this whole conversation was about us gaining our power.
Gaining our power.
Does it
On.
mean, and what happens when we do try and get our power? And is it necessary? Yes.
Mhm. Yeah. Gigi by the Sea says I'm completely out of popular out of the popular cultural loop. So much of it feels like violence against my spirit and my being. Yes, Gigi, that is the correct way to say it. That's what I feel like when in some of these things it feels like violence against my spirit, my soul, your being, your essence. Yeah, good way to put it. Sal says, I withdrew from cultural norms years ago and succeeded by going into a field where the mind matters. Yet still I had to be better than others. Yeah.
Yeah. I did the same thing. I went into the field where mind matters. Unfortunately, some of my bosses were men, and they still managed to do the same things that they did in other places. So it didn't really matter, even though I was more respected for my mind.
We have to continue talking about it, keep speaking about it, keep calling it out when we see it, call it for what it is, and to see it in ourselves where we are still part of the culture, right? And take inventory. I do on a daily, but also keep calling it out when you see it. Just keep bringing it to the light. Bring it to the light.
Right.
And again, we're not here to dictate if you want to wear pink. I love pink. I feel good in pink. It has nothing to do with pink, blue. I wear blue too, right? So I wear a lot of black mostly. I mostly wear black because it's not attached to anything. And I feel okay. I feel good in it. But I also love pink. And I like, wearing that. So again, this isn't to dictate making big changes. If you want to wear makeup, wear makeup. But understand, take it deep, take it in, go, okay, so I'm wearing makeup because the commercial told me I needed to, the culture is telling me I need to, I'm still in a pattern of old that I'm doing this, or I personally feel good when I feel more awake. So I don't have makeup on today and I'm really tired. And I look tired. To me, I look tired. So to me, I'm not doing it for anybody else but myself.
Yeah.
I just feel better. So that's why I would choose to wear makeup. It's not a pretty thing or that someone's telling me I need to do that to look better. I just feel better.
Well, it's gone so deep. Honestly, we've been socialized that it's gone so deep that we won't go out of the house. How many TV shows or movies have we seen where the woman gets up in the middle of the night, puts makeup on, gets back in bed,
Exactly.
right? So her male partner will see that she doesn't look, bad in the morning.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think the real measure is whether when you're putting it on, are you putting it on because you're afraid people will think you're not enough when you don't wear it?
Exactly.
That's a measure of whether you're doing it because it's just fun or whether you're doing it because you had a rough night last night, or whether you're doing it because it's culturally expected. Yeah.
Those are all good questions to ask. And also, if you are a makeup wearer and you feel like any of these things that we've talked about rings true to you, take a look. Go a day without makeup and see what it feels like. But again, there's no judgment. You do you. yeah, for me, I'm like, I don't like to always, I look forward to my days off of makeup. That's what I can say. But I also look forward to, on the days I wear makeup, I feel good. So I'm right there in the middle, but I'm open to learning more and digging deeper in this issue for myself.
When I first had cancer and I lost my hair the first time, before I lost the hair, I started looking for wigs. And I got a couple of wigs. It was such a nightmare. I finally went, no, I'm not doing that. So I would wear hats. Finally, one of my neighbors said, "You got little wisps sticking out of your hat. You look like an 80-year-old guy who's who doesn't want anybody to know he's bald." And I said, "So it's time to get my head shaved." She said, "Yes." So I got my next door neighbor, John, to shave my head.
Aww.
And he was so sweet and so kind and loving doing it. And the experience of not having hair became desirable. It's so interesting how it works. The guys I would see who were bald would look at me like, like you're one of us. But I started to feel like, God, life is so much easier without any hair. You don't have to take a shower in the morning. You don't have to do it in the morning. You don't have to. It's so much easier. You don't care about it anymore. Then it grew back. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, it grew back. Okay, all right. Well, it's short. Then I lost it again. This time, I didn't care. I got it shaved right away, and it was like, oh, that's cool. That's fun. I got all sorts of different hats to wear. I got a hat that says, yes, I'm bald. So I think there's a way to think about this stuff that has to do with going without it for a period of time just to see how you feel and how much of it's like a boycott, right?
Mhm.
See how much of it is attached to cultural approval and
Mhm.
how much of it is attached to you in your essence and your beautiful self, the way you were born.
Yes. Yes. And Sal says, I've shaved my head for the experience.
Yes.
And I, I think I was in my 30s. In my
Mm.
30s, I cut my hair an inch all around my head. My hair has always been long, and I cut it an inch. And I did it at the time to buck, like part of part of what is considered my privilege is being a small blonde woman,
Mm-hmm.
and part of what comes with that is everyone looks at you.
Mm-hmm.
You are you're out on display wherever you go just because you're small and you're blonde. That's
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people consider that as a privilege. Okay, so but I in my 30s, I'm gonna cut my hair an inch and see if that cuts the staring down. You know what I mean? I'm going to take myself out of this what people think is good or beautiful or whatever and do that. And so I cut my hair an inch all over my head. And it was very different. It did cut a lot of stares out, but I still had to deal with people looking at me. But it was different. It was definitely different. I was treated very differently with my hair short.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mary's like, I bet they still stared.
Yeah. What does your family think?
No one liked it. Yeah,
Yeah.
no one liked it. I kept it for a long time. out of rebellion.
That a girl. That a girl.
But I learned a lot. I grew a lot. I got the experience I wanted out of cutting it short.
Mhm. I mean, in the early days, everything from skirt length to how tight the skirt is, whether or not you wore skirts. What I think was interesting about Hillary Clinton when she ran for president, she wore pants. Boy, did she take a lot of abuse. Kamala Harris is wearing pants all the time, and they can't talk about her legs. They can't talk about the length of her skirt. None of that stuff. It's not an issue, except that she's not doing the feminine thing.
Yeah. And but now if a woman would run for president or whatever, well, they can wear pants, and see, that's already been pushed through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Someone already took the abuse for it.
Well, that's one of the things I think is hopeful about this upcoming election. The effort on the part of the conservatives to push women backwards, you can't push women backwards. It doesn't ever, if you look at history, every single advance has become a permanent advance, because you can't push people back to where their free will already is.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do it. So I think that means that what's going to happen in 2024, we're going to see a lot of people push really hard.
A lot of pushback.
The effort to try and push us back. And that's really what it's about. It's really about pushing us backwards.
Mm-hmm. Book says, I love makeup and jewelry. It's fun for me, but I don't feel like I need to for anyone else. I had pink, purple spiked hair. I love it. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
You be free in whatever choice you choose to make for yourself, and I love it. Mm-hmm. Just that we're here to bring awareness to the culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Gigi says, refusal to participate in the dominant paradigm. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's right.
And
being aware of what the dominant paradigm is.
Yes. Yeah, being aware, and then do your thing. But outside of,
I think you should change Freebird's spirit to just be you.
What should it be?
Be you. Be who. Be what was it? What's the phrase you use all the time? Be you.
You do you.
You do you. That's it.
You do you.
You do you.
You do you.
Yeah. That's the name of our next book. Yeah.
There you go. YouDoYou.com.
Do you.
What I found as I've grown older is it's difficult to adopt things you may have rejected years ago. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Book says, I'm no damsel in distress. I'm a dragon in a dress. Push me, I dare you.
I love it. I love it.
I do too. I love that.
Yeah.
So, Chrys, thank you so much for, again, teaching us, schooling us, and bringing in awareness. And thank you for what you did for us in the 70s, breaking through some of those doors.
Yeah.
When you were talking about the FBI, I'm like, they have a Chrys folder at the FBI, but it's
yes, they do. Yes, yeah. They do. I've had the Secret Service point their guns at me, so thank you very much. Yeah.
Captain Lewis.
Doing anything awful. So there you go. Yeah.
Who can say they have a file at the FBI?
Almost everybody from that period. Anytime we were at a march, there were people there taking our license plates down and photographing us and following us. I had my mail opened. I had, my phone tapped. I wasn't doing anything revolutionary as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. But anyway.
Well, I think you were.
You think I'm cute as hell. Just admit it.
I do. I think you're cute as hell, and I think you did a lot for us back in the day. And you're still doing a lot for us, opening the doors. So I want to say hi to Kevin Lewis. Hi, Kevin. Thank you for hanging out with us. We love you too. And I think that Brooke wanted to. Before we are done, please can we send light blessings to areas hurting, weather, war, and
dumbassery.
Oh my God. Okay, yes. Let's link in together, everyone. Bringing all, igniting your light being within, so bright that it's shining through you and out, all the way out to the universe. And we're all connecting in to Source as one with Source, and out to the planet, to the globe, blessing all the areas of war and hurt and dumbassery. Getting it right. Let's get it done. You can come back to this place at any time, you guys, and just step into this energy connected as we're connected in. It'll be here always. Just connect in and just ignite that light within and let it permeate you and out to the world. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Book, for that suggestion. Healing vibes. Out we go. Thank you, Chrys. Love you.
Thank you. Love you too.
And we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Taking a couple weeks off for the holidays, and we'll see you in the new year. Yeah. Thanks for this discussion. Love to hear from you. And also any topics that you want us to dive into, let us know. Blessings to you. And also if you want us to channel anyone.
We didn't channel.
We didn't today, but anybody that could bring in a voice of the past and guide us now would be great. All right. Love you guys. See you all next year. Book says, Chrys, you are gorgeous. Oh, how'd you do that?
How'd you do that? Did you do that?
I didn't do that.
I didn't do that.
That's hilarious.
God, no kidding.
Wow. Kevin, did you see that? She had balloons just pop up on her thing.
I love it. Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.